Everybody John the Other here, obviously. And there is a scene in the book 1984 and also in the movie, and various versions of the movie have been made, in which Winston, the protagonist, who has been arrested and is being tortured and interrogated, is asked by his interrogator, "How many fingers do you see?" And he says 4, of course. And the interrogator refers to an entry that the protagonist, Winston, has made in his diary, which was, "Freedom is the freedom to say that 2 + 2 = 4. And as the scene progresses, and I recommend that you watch it, I'll put a link to one of the versions of that that's online. The interrogator repeatedly holds up his hand, holding up this many fingers, and asks Winston how many fingers there are, and each time he says 4, he tortures him, causes him immense pain, until Winston tries to say that there are 5, which is what he's been told there are, and he tortures him some more, and continues to torture him each time he answers, until the answer that he gives is, "I don't know. I don't know how many there are." This is a person who's been starved and beaten and is strapped to a table and is being tortured. How many fingers are there? It's clearly 4, but he's been so brutalized he can't tell how many there are. Each time he answers an answer that the interrogator doesn't like, he is tortured more. I think something similar to that, at a much lower level of intensity, is happening through the media. There's an expression: it is the beginning of wisdom to call things by their proper names. And we are being told, through the media, through the laws, through activists, that if you refuse to use the correct pronouns of a self-selected transgender person, that they want to have this or that silly pronoun, maybe a pronoun that you've never heard of, a made-up word. Or if it's as simple as a man who is biologically a man and is pretending to be a woman, and you refuse to use the she pronoun because in your mind this is not a woman, it's a man. This is now in New York going to be subject to fines of up to $250,000. In Canada, Bill C-16 has a very good chance of making this a hate crime. So we are legislating, calling things not by their proper names, but by an improper name. And of course, the penalty isn't you get strapped to a table and tortured. It's that you're called terrible names. You're called a bigot and a misogynist and a hate monger, and you are told, at least by elements of the trans activist community, that mispronouncing someone is equivalent morally to wishing for the death of the person or trying to initiate their death, that it's an attempt at murder. I mean, this is hyperbolic nonsense, but we are being heaped with these abusive, really outlandish and horrendous insults because they work, because these attacks on the character, even if they don't convince people, cause them pain. Even people who know that they're being lied to, they know it's nonsense. When I am routinely called a misogynist and a rape apologist, and I know I'm neither of those things, but it's still obviously, there's that little sting. It's like, how can you be calling me these things, this horrendous name? Well, why are they calling me that? Not because it's true, but because they know it's a way of inflicting pain. So the public narrative of, that anybody who refuses to use a made-up gender pronoun or say, refuses to call, say, Caitlyn Jenner a woman because it's Bruce Jenner and he's got a penis, so he's a man. And then, of course, you get called a bigot and a hate monger, or you get told that your opinion or your accurate use of language to say Mr. Jenner is a man is equivalent to calling for the murder of all transsexuals. Well, that's to cause you pain. Nobody actually thinks you're calling for murder. It's to cause pain to the person that's being said about. So it's the torture. I mean, it's much less painful than being strapped to a table and tortured as it is depicted in the movie, but it's still the pain element of that conditioning. We need to recognize that the technique demonstrated in the cinematic version of 1984, where Winston is tortured until he can't tell 4 from 5, is the exact same technique being used on the wider scale of the media regarding the reality of someone who is either male or female and dressing as a member of the opposite sex, but it doesn't matter how many surgeries you have or how many hormone pills you take or how many injections. You are a facsimile of the opposite sex, but that sexual biology has not changed, and you are either a man or a woman. It is not compassionate to enable someone to indulge in a delusion. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, and have a lovely day.